My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only, and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. It is currently Tuesday, May 20th, 2025, and this is an hour where I am exposing the demon possessed who are obsessively monitoring me, and the late hour is relevant to the demented mind states of those who are stalking, and these demons are monitoring and stalking together. And then I get into the details of those who are sex partners, those who are co-conspirators, those who are demons alike, and also all of those who are relevant to what is restraining orders regarding federal law mandating that such demons, such predators, such psychopaths, such documented gang stalkers are never coming into my presence, avoiding a prosecution for it. So 1 o'clock in the morning, it's currently 1:02 a.m. and I am asleep. I documented the demon-possessed Tracy Banks gang stalking, and this is somebody that's a demon, just like her sex partner Jason Isaac Fields, no different. Okay, engaging in what is stalking in the spirit, monitoring like her sex partner Jason Isaac Fields, no different. Engaging in what is demonic means of harassment, monitoring in the spirit, interrupting with my sleep, while this malicious psychopath does so in order to wake me up. Remember, I'm listening to content on my headphones. Her opening up the front door is not what woke me up. I can't hear it because I'm listening to content. So like I document on podcast, this is a demon that's monitoring in the spirit. She's waking me up, and this is a psychopath that in the physical, all you're seeing is she's under the fake sun in engineered light, gang stalking with Woodside Senior Apartments, gang stalking with the city of Ontario physically. But what she is doing is she is monitoring in the spirit, and she is engaging what is disrupting my sleep. And in doing so, and then she's walking in the apartment, engaging in the elements of monitoring. I commence documentation. It's the P.O.C. This is speaking to that spiritual component about what the mentally ill, the violent sex offender, the obsessive and delusional stalker, the psychopath that's conspiring murder as an entity, gang stalking me, stealing from me, defaming me, while their mental illness is what needs to be at the center of the discussion when exposing the demon-possessed entity that is gang stalking. So this is what Jason Isaac Fields is doing at this hour, 1 o'clock in the morning. This demon-possessed person is just like his sex partner, the grandma that he's been engaged in a long-term sexual relationship with, which now either one of them are embarrassed by it, and not only that, incriminated by it, so not wanting to admit to it, but they are very much sexually linked with each other, engaging in a secret relationship behind my back, while they are both engaged in what is targeting me. And that is the source of first of all, enjoyment by malicious, wicked people. They're sick. So they enjoy being like a fake friend, which is Jason, and being a fake mother, which is Tracy. And they're both demons who are gang stalking, engaging in what is witchcraft, monitoring me in the spirit. And this is the relationship that they still maintain while they are still gang stalking together in the specific environment. And Jason Isaac Fields is at 1 o'clock in the morning. This is a psychopath. This is a sex offender. This is somebody that engages in the disgusting and perverted conduct such as masturbating while he is monitoring me and monitoring me in the bathroom. This is a predator, and this is somebody who was sexually attracted to predators like Tracy Banks, and that's the basis of their relationship together. These two predators engaged in gang stalking, engaged in a sexual relationship, perverted in nature, demented in nature, and also criminal in nature, conspiring together to take my life, conspiring together to defame my character in order to accomplish kidnapping, which is again what Jason Isaac Fields is engaged in, while I'm subject to repeated kidnappings with the Ontario police, who you see gang stalking me with his sex partner Tracy Banks. They are together targeting me together as an entity, and they're also spiritually attacking. This is what the demon possessed are doing, and this is what a psychopath, his name is Jason Isaac Fields, this demon possessed person who is engaged in what is spiritually attacking at 1 o'clock in the morning, just like I documented in the morning yesterday, 5 o'clock in the morning. This is somebody that is not sleeping. That's, in other words, what I'm exposing, their mental illness. When I'm documenting the demons who are monitoring their obsession, not only by, as I'm documenting them gang stalking relevant position, I want it to be clear what is known, the obsession while they are spiritually attacking, and doing so with regard to delusion. There is nothing other than exposure, embarrassment, and prosecution, which is being exposed, and restraining orders. That's it. Psychopaths like Jason Isaac Fields, who are engaging in what is gang stalking while spiritually attacking. This is aiding psychological torture. This is while I'm subject to the pattern of conduct. This is a sex offender, somebody that is a predator, and that is, again, deluded by demons who are using him and attacking me. And this is not an innocent victim. This is somebody that is fully aware of the fact that I am, first of all, documenting his conduct with regard to monitoring me, and his conduct with regard to the gross and defile and demonic things that he's done with Tracy Banks, that he's still doing with Tracy Banks, by the way. And this is also relevant to the consequences that he's going to suffer based on his choice to have sex with what is a predator that is Tracy Banks. That's what happens when you engage in a relationship and under any circumstances with what is a criminal, which is what Jason Isaac Fields is. He's a criminal. And so there are consequences consequences with regard to getting involved with somebody that's conspiring to murder me. You're gang stalking me, and then there are consequences that are going to chase you down, and it includes being prosecuted by me. Jason Isaac Fields is not distinct from Tracy Banks. Jason Isaac Fields is not different from the predator, the demon that is Tracy Banks. Jason Isaac Fields engaged in what is climbing on top of this demon and having sex with her while conspiring my murder, and doing so to my own demise, and is still spiritually attacking. And doing so, I want to be clear with regard to this demon is referring to this unrepentant and unapologetic predator, this psychopath who's going to be prosecuted and is going to be surrounded with federal laws pertaining to restraining orders. But I want to refer, this demon is referring to what is Bobby Brown. It's my prerogative when this demon is monitoring me with regard to harassing and psychologically torturing, interfering with my sleep, and being this demon is rejected. This demon has no future with me. It's never ever, nothing is ever going to happen with regard to a personal relationship. He's had anal sex with Tracy Banks. He is a walking, talking maggot. This is a demon that does not know Christ. This is somebody that has been so defiled, so corrupt, so despicable, so disgusting, so demonic. Okay, this is nobody that has any hope, and it literally through what are the channels of Satan, there's not a hope in hell for somebody like Jason Isaac Fields to ever crawl back into my life. And by the way, harassing somebody and monitoring them is not how the Lord God would permit anyone to be in or to re-enter my life. It's never going to happen with Jason Isaac Fields, and that's why he's being embarrassed, he's being exposed, and he's also going to be prosecuted. This person is resorting to this is again this Bobby Brown song, It's My Prerogative. This is not a song that I'm singing. It's not a song that I'm thinking about. This is a demon that's monitoring, and this is also a demon that's communicating their disregard for their spiritually violating, spiritually monitoring, and the demonic nature. In other words, that psychopathic appetite which he shares with his sex partner Tracy Banks. She's equally not concerned with my right to not be targeted, my right to not be monitored by her, to not be subject to witchcraft by her, and she belongs in a mental asylum, and so does her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields. Okay, they are alike, and they're engaged in criminal conduct together, conspiring against myself in murdering me and stealing my intellectual property and stealing that which belongs to me, trying to steal it and then keep it by conspiring my demise. And that conspiracy, and let me want to be clear, in case there's any doubt regarding the veracity of what it is that I'm exposing about the demon possessed, the entity that I'm documenting gang stalking, Tracy Banks' engagement in gang stalking me, Jason Isaac Fields being documented as a gang stalker, because that's exactly what he is when I have his phone number that he had when he was living in Las Vegas before he relocated to California. My ability to document him and the job that he lied about having working with Target, my knowledge about the details of his life, living with women that he was having sex with in Vegas, and then relocating to California. This person in the documentation, the information is relevant to while he was gang stalking me, relocating to Rialto, California, gang stalking with the state of California. In other words, the ability to engage in targeting someone by gang stalking them with the government that's doing so in furtherance of murder and kidnapping is the ability to conspire to murder me. Understand the malice behind gang stalking. It is revealing the ability to engage in what a conspiracy to murder. That's the whole purpose of psychologically torturing someone. That's the purpose. I want to be clear. That's the same desire and appetite for harming someone that you're monitoring while you're spiritually attacking them. And Jason Isaac Fields is no victim of Tracy Banks. Jason Isaac Fields is a criminal actor that had sex with his equally perverted and unhinged pervert, just like him. They're just of two different genders and two totally different generations, but which is laughable. It's embarrassing, but this is the embarrassment of what they do behind closed doors is what needs to be brought into the open. These two perverts are demons who are gang stalking to date, and they were engaged in what is conspiring my demise together, and they're also still gang stalking. Remember, gang stalking is not just accomplished a relevant position, and there's no legitimate investigation by the entity that's engaging in psychological torture of the target individual. You are engaging in that gang stalking system, and you're doing so in furtherance of still harming that target individual, regardless of the fact of the inability to prosecute for for example, for Tracy Banks's engagement in what is witchcraft. But I have accomplished it. She's going to a mental asylum because she's surrounded with evidence of gang stalking with the state. But nonetheless, it's beyond that. This is a demon that practices witchcraft. She's spiritually attacking, and she's doing so with her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, who's at 1 o'clock in the morning engage in what is monitoring me, harassing, and in doing so with reference to the secular song by Bobby Brown, It's My Prerogative, while this delusional psychopath, this predator, this stalker, this is somebody that it's never, and there is no chance that it will ever happen. This person is resorting to satanic means regarding what is never going to happen. And the man of God that I have not ever met. I have not met him who I'm going to marry. I haven't met him yet because he's nobody's puppet for Satan. He doesn't serve Satan, and he's never been engaged in sexual activity with Satan, i.e. Tracy Banks. She's never climbed on top of him and sat on his genitalia like she has with Jason Isaac Fields. This is a deluded demon who is engaged in what is targeting me and is still attacking me, and is doing so in a very unrepentant and a harassing and antagonistic manner at 1 o'clock in the morning, because this demon cannot handle being rejected. But this is understanding the significance of giving your life to Christ Jesus, because you will have a lifetime of regrets and embarrassments. Jason Isaac Fields is not only being rejected, he's being rejected before the world. He's being rejected for the gross and vile and criminal things that he's done with somebody that's the age of his grandma, who never would have had his kids in the first place, while he was engaged in what is gang stalking me. Somebody that was an actual friend, and somebody that detests the day that I ever met him. He's literally a mistake to have ever crossed paths with. And this is somebody who is going to be permanently plucked out of my life and also barred by law in order to keep such stalkers. And the evidence of him monitoring is relevant to what I will use to prosecute him while he's gang stalking. It is relevant, and that is how I will be able to use what is spiritually attacking me while gang stalking, as I have shown what is the P.O.C. of the entity that is targeting American citizens, and doing so in ways which are psychologically harmful. And it's relevant to that obsessive desire to harm another person, somebody that is acting against my interests, somebody that is acting toward seeking to harm me, and is also wanting to do so in a way that nobody else can see. So they don't know, no one else can see me stalking her in the spirit. No one else can see me harassing her. No one else, and all of that is a fallacy. I'm going to call out the demons in the spirit, and I'm going to prosecute the demons in relevant position. The entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct that is readily identifiable, and they're also spiritually attacking. And this sex offender, this stalker, this sexually confused gay man who was engaged in what is harassing me after having sex with my mother, and gang stalking me and stealing from me and defaming me, is somebody that is still attacking me, because he will never, under any circumstances, and it is the Lord's will that he never have anything to do with me. And there's no way that he's not getting past my Lord and Savior. He's not getting past me. It's not going to happen against my will, in other words. And I'm also documenting, because it needs to be public information, about the psychopath that is Jason Isaac Fields, who was spiritually attacking at 1 o'clock in the morning and monitoring me with songs such as Bobby Brown's It's My Prerogative, when this demon is attacking and then engaging in what is telling himself that it's okay and he's going to continuously do it, and it's his prerogative to do so, regardless of the fact that you are harassing and monitoring somebody that is entirely bothered by you and is rebuking you in Jesus' name, and is also exposing you. That is no route to what is a loving, reciprocal relationship voluntarily entered into. That is never, ever going to happen. And this is a demon that is engaging in what is, again, self-destructive conduct. That's relevant to the demented mind state, the psychopath, that's also going to be barred by law from ever coming into my presence. And this is what is interrupting my sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning while this demon is obsessing. It's evidence of obsession. And if that obsession is relevant to the mind state, the mental health concern, the psychopath that is still monitoring me. And this is the sex partner of Jason Isaac Fields. The sex partner of Tracy Banks, who is Jason Isaac Fields. So I want to make sure that that's known. And this is what I'm continuously subject to while the entity is monitoring. Jason Isaac Fields would like to expose Tracy Banks. Jason Isaac Fields would like to establish that Tracy Banks is the predator. Tracy Banks is the bad guy. And that is very much true. But Tracy Banks didn't do it by herself. Tracy Banks is not spiritually attacking me alone. Tracy Banks is not gang stalking me by herself either. Her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, is fully engaged documentation that, and like the song that he's referring to, while this demon is monitoring, it's his prerogative, is what he believes, to do so, to continuously do so. In the face of documentation, in the face of a woman who was myself, clearly communicating to leave me alone, to stop targeting, and this demon is still doing so, just like his sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields. It's a demon, it's a psychopath that makes themselves think that they're different from another predator, and he's not. He's not. And I'm going to prosecute him, and he will never come into contact with me and avoid a federal prosecution. It is currently 1:18 a.m. It is Tuesday, May 20, 2025. This is relevant to harassment, psychological torture. This is what the ordinary target individual is subject to. And then they're ignorant about the ways in which the enemy attacks your mind. And you're ignorant about what is actually going on. It's a spiritual attack. It is the entity that does so while they are combining that with gangs stalking you, the government following you around, attacking you, harassing you, the people of the state stalking you in the malicious and psychopathic manners that they do, such as my own mother gang stalking me, and she's failing and creating the illusion of mental illness. I'm exposing her mental illness while she is at the same time spiritually attacking. This is what the entity is typically doing to people that don't know what they're subject to, what they're against, what's coming against them. And it is out of the pit of hell. And I am calling that out, and I'm exposing it, and I'm also going to enforce my rights against it. Sex offenders and stalkers like Jason Isaac Fields, they create what is, they are the threat, the unlawful threat, the threat that's posed by the government that will never avoid what is prosecution for being in my presence, which Jason Isaac Fields never has the right and will be prosecuted were he to ever come into contact with me. And I'm documenting his obsession, his mental illness, the threat that he poses while he is gang stalking me and spiritually attacking. This is a psychopath that believes that he could come into my presence, that there would be some sort of friendly conversation. I'm telling you, Satan is a liar, and Satan is using puppets like Jason, who are very much deluded regarding what they actually are and what is actually wrong with them. And that sort of mental illness, that sort of delusion, is exactly why he's going to be never permitted to come into contact with me. It is currently 1:20 a.m. It's Tuesday, May 20, 2025. This is revealing the condition of the demon-possessed who are gang stalking. Strangers that don't know me are spiritually attacking. Strangers that don't know me are stalking. It is the P.O.C. of the demon-possessed. It is still Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. It's currently 5:47 a.m. And this is documentation that is all relevant pursuant to the criminal pattern of conduct of targeting that I remain subject to by the public entity that is the United States government that is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. This is the unlawful, the inhumane gang stalking. In other words, that's how it's referred to in the vernacular. But the government is monitoring, and the government is targeting me and monitoring me in particular with regard to an inhumane, essentially an experiment, while targeting me, and also engaged in what is targeting me while I being the first to ever expose it, to provide what is a resolution regarding prosecuting it, and also providing information to the public that are ignorant about the spiritual realm where the demon-possessed are monitoring. And monitoring is ongoing in the United States of America, where we are indeed under surveillance, and it is relevant to the spiritual realm. It's a demonic system of surveillance, and it's also that which the government is using technology, of course, to do so, but this is satanic in every regard. So at 5:47 in the morning, I remain subject to federal group stalking and monitoring. I'm still being subject to targeting, and this is what, again, corrupt government actors that believe the federal government, this could be the military, whichever agency that this is a sex offender, Jason Isaac Fields, that he is targeting me and is not engaged in any legitimate government action. No lawful or constitutionally authorized project or investigation or act of the government is engaging in what is sexually perverted, what is under, again, no legitimate interest of the government whatsoever, especially when Jason Isaac Fields and the military, the government, would assert that they are engaging in, this will be the government's position, that they are engaging in what is an investigation, and they are not. They're monitoring. The government is monitoring, and the government is engaging in voyeurism voyeurism upon monitoring, which is speaking to the psychopathic appetite of studying and watching the American citizen that they are gang stalking, that they're targeting, and they're doing so, which is inhumane and unlawful under all circumstances. So this is a prosecution of the U.S. government as I am documenting the psychopathic and the sexually perverted and the inhumane means of psychologically targeting me. So at 5:47 in the morning, the reason why I'm up is because this is the sex offender, Jason Isaac Fields. This is the sex partner of the gang stalker, my mother, Tracy Banks. And this is someone that Jason Isaac Fields and the government also would contrast itself, Jason would contrast himself with, but these demons are alike. These demons are engaging in the same targeting for the same satanic purposes. First of all, remember this is spiritual. Second of all, for the same criminal purposes. My violations under the Constitution and my human rights are being violated by the government. And it's not changing while Tracy Banks does it. And it's not changing while the government, the military, the U.S. government, and Jason Isaac Fields is engaging in that. And engaging in an investigation does not include sleep deprivation. Engaging in an investigation does not include sexually targeting me. And this is, again, the use of what is witchcraft by, again, illegitimate practices of the government that is monitoring, not conducting a legitimate investigation, and doing so upon knowledge, surveillance. Okay, so knowledge that I'm documenting the government that is monitoring me, and the government resorts to more engaging in more exacerbating harms inflicted. And that's the purpose of my documentation via podcast as well. While I am under all circumstances still being gang stalked in relevant positions. So this is under all circumstances exacerbating harms, entitling me to what is a prosecution against the United States government. And the government is going to be equally subject to what is removal from government positions, what is being exposed as terrorists and sex offenders, regardless of their seeking to esteem themselves as conducting investigations and providing justice. They're not. And the sleep deprivation is not any sort of condition that I'm suffering from individually. I have no problem sleeping. The demon possessed are monitoring and interrupting my sleep. The demon possessed are monitoring and engaging in what Jason Isaac Fields is doing at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning when I'm sleeping. And after, it's not a coincidence, as I'm documented previously. If you'll recall my documentation, play the tape back when I'm referring to the sex offender and the sex offenders who are monitoring. Monitoring is a sex offense. The perpetual sex offense is an exceedingly violent sex offense that's committed as an entity. And the sex offender engages in sexually perverted behavior as well, which is illegitimate with regard to any investigation. They're engaging in what is masturbating, sexual activity while monitoring me, monitoring my vagina in the bathroom. Everything that's underway in a private space is a matter of what is information amongst an entity that has no warrant or probable cause and is not engaging in any actual or legitimate investigation, while voyeurism upon federal group stalking and monitoring in the specific environment in concert with the gang stalking city of Ontario, the state of California. Tracy Banks is there exhibiting. It's nothing other than P.O.C. that I remain subject to, and no investigation is changing the elements of monitoring and the ways in which the entity is engaging in what is obstruction of justice tactics while I document. There's no change. The entity is referring, and the entity that is monitoring, this is what Jason Isaac Fields, while he's monitoring and he is extending himself as though while this demon is monitoring, as though he's investigating, and he's not. He's admitted to being one that is monitoring, and I'm going to use that against him when I prosecute him in the physical. He's admitted to engaging in what is theft of my intellectual property. I'm going to prosecute him for that in the physical. So this demon is a sex offender, and while I am asleep, again, my sleep being interrupted, I am not a highly sexed person that is engaged in what is masturbating and watching pornography and fantasizing about sexual relations with people. To the contrary, I sleep, and I don't have any sexual, and I'm being open because I'm going to expose the sex offenders. So I'm just speaking to the entity that would listen to it. Oh, well, that's just you and your imagination, and you're an adult woman that's having cravings at your hormones, and then no, it's not. The demons are engaged in what is witchcraft, And part of this witchcraft practice is that which is designed to it's a Jezebel spirit, like I've documented. This is satanic, this is spiritual. And this demon, Jason Isaac Fields, is a pervert who is sexually engaged in what is a means of spiritual attack. And so while I'm sleeping, I am awoken in the middle of the night again. And this is not my inability to sleep throughout the whole night. These are demons who are attacking. And this is, again, a government agency that's not investigating. And it's relevant to the harms inflicted, which is why I document to create a record to prosecute. And so I am awoken in the early hour, and this is relevant to what is the entity that's engaging what is sexually attacking me. This is a spiritual attack, but it's of a sexual nature. That's what I mean to say. And this is not my own sexual impulses or hormones that are just overwhelmed in the middle of the night. This is somebody that's engaging in what is a means of witchcraft, such as sex magic. This is Jason Isaac Fields. That's a demon-possessed person who's engaged in masturbating and resorting to witchcraft while he is spiritually attacking me, spiritually focused on me, and then interrupting my sleep. And this is where I am being interrupted in my sleep. And this demon is engaging in this sexual obsession, which is, again, part of his means of spiritually attacking me. And so this is, again, somebody that is deriving pleasure sexually while he is spiritually attacking me. It's relevant to the pervert that's monitoring my genitalia when I am under surveillance, and not only while I'm being gang stalked, but also while the government that's not engaged in an actual and legitimate investigation, who's engaged in voyeurism while they're monitoring me, is engaging in what is a sex offense. And this is also underway while I want to make sure I document the use of what is sex magic, witchcraft that's of a sexual nature. This demon, Jason Isaac Fields, is engaged in what is the practice of witchcraft, focusing on my images, summoning satanic spirits while engaging in what is sexual activity with another person or with himself. He's masturbating, and then he's interrupting my sleep. And while I'm being woken up, this sexual energy is what is violating, and it's disgusting. It is something that is not work. It's not effective on me. It's a Jezebel spirit. It's also a means of what is psychological torture while I'm documenting the entity that is spiritually attacking. So I want to make sure that that is known. This is what the demon Jason Isaac Fields is engaging in, and this is pursuant to what is a corrupt government agency, that is the U.S. government. That's under no circumstances it's being exposed as engaging in what the American citizens in this country need to know that the government is engaging. The government is keeping us all under surveillance, and you are being monitored on the internet as well, but also with regard to what the government is doing and violating your privacy in doing so. And it's particularly perverted to engage in such use of what is witchcraft pursuant to this sexual obsession that this demon-possessed person has. This demon-possessed person is somebody that would want to be taken seriously when asked questions about why he was targeting me. Somebody that doesn't want to be looked at like a pedophile, that doesn't want to be looked at like a rapist, that doesn't want to be looked at like somebody that is engaged in voyeuristic endeavors and watching a woman get undressed, watching a woman live her life unbeknownst to her. Her anatomy is being studied, and her genitalia is the focal point of his masturbation schedule. This is a predator that's engaging in this spiritual attack in the middle of the night and interrupting my sleep. And it is not the product under any circumstances, and it has nothing to do with what is my. I wouldn't document it if it was that, and I'm a healthy woman. I'm a full functioning woman, but this is not, again, in the same way that the Bobby Brown song about my prerogative, that's Jason Isaac Fields that's monitoring, and this is an unapologetic and unrepentant demon that is engaging what is spiritually attacking and also doing so in a sexual manner. And this is, again, the reality of witchcraft. This is the reality of that Jezebel spirit, which is perverted and engaging in what is psychological torture through such sexually perverted manners, which is is what he learned from the grandma that he was having sex with for years, Tracy Banks, both of them engaging in sexual activity together while spiritually attacking me. That's how perverted this Jezebel spirit is. That's demonic. And doing so, they're still monitoring me together while Jason Isaac Fields is engaging in what is spiritually attacking while they're just not having sex together. Tracy Banks is inside of the apartment spiritually attacking in her ways, and while Jason Isaac Fields is having learned from the grandma that he's been having sex with for years, now he's engaged in using witchcraft and spiritually attacking me on his own while engaging in what is abusing. It's relevant because I'm going to prosecute the government that's engaged in monitoring pursuant to what is stalking, not surveillance that's underway pursuant to an investigation. None of it is legitimate. It's not a legitimate government interest to engage in what is spiritually attacking, interrupting my sleep, psychologically harming, engaging in what is surveillance and doing so. None of that is relevant or needful when you are investigating a police department, by the way, that's violating and engaging in abuse of power methods of targeting me, using and engaging in what is spiritual attacks, monitoring, voyeurism, theft of my intellectual property. All of that is relevant and crucial to identifying the U.S. government that's monitoring. And I'm going to prosecute the government for monitoring. The entity is engaging in what is entirely unlawful and inhumane, and it's also unprecedented. And that is relevant to the evidence that I am accumulating in podcast. And also, while the gang stalking system is evidence that is corroborating the spiritual attacks that the U.S. government is engaging in, sex offenders, predators, psychopaths like Jason Isaac Fields, who is engaging in an all-night endeavor in targeting me and is doing so as a psychopathic predator. Okay, that is no act of a government that is any sort of a hero or any sort of a partner or somebody that is acting in furtherance of my interests, not seeking to do harm. It's the exact opposite of that, and that's what I want to make sure is understood. I am subject to this violation of my human rights of sex offenders that are engaging in the government that is, again, employing Jason Isaac Fields is facilitating it. You're going to be prosecuted in the same way that AVANATH Capital Management is going to be prosecuted for its gang stalking employees. It's the same thing with the government, and it's facilitating such sexual violence, such trauma that I am documenting in order to prosecute the inhumane program of federal group stalking and monitoring that the government is engaging in, and the inexplicable and absolutely irrelevant means of what is having nothing to do with an investigation and having everything to do with what is monitoring me and engaging in an inhumane means of experimentation. And the entity is doing so while engaging in things such as sex magic, using witchcraft and spiritually attacking me, which is going toward the sex offender's mind state, that mens rea, that predator's intent. And I want to make sure that that is known. And the sleep deprivation is relevant to psychological torture. Interrupting my sleep is relevant to the harms that are inflicted. This is what is exposing Jason Isaac Fields and the government to what is a prosecution for criminal activity, and what is also relevant to the removal from their positions from government. It is currently 6:01 a.m. It is still Tuesday, May 20, 2025. This is P.O.C. All right, this is documentation about the monitoring of these sex offenders who are, again, demons who are engaged in gang stalking. Gang stalking is inherently sexually violent. It is sexual violence that the government is engaging in and also facilitating and enabling a population, the civilian population, to practice as a way of life. And then you're going to sit back and recall that the same government maintains what is courts and law enforcement and jails, facilities where people who are convicted as sex offenders are under laws that exist, prosecuted, and then labeled as sex offenders, and the government itself is engaging in the massive sex offense of what is gang stalking in places like bathrooms. In an entirely demented and predatory manner, solely focused on the genitalia, solely focused on the sexual nature of that monitoring conduct, solely focused on sexually violating the targeted individual who's supposed to be silenced. So it's sexual violence that the entity never intended to be exposed and never intended to have what is words and it also images, identities that are also identified with regard to the egregious sexual violence of the demon-possessed who are violent sex offenders, in fact, and who are engaging in gang stalking. So this is 6:52 a.m. while the entity is keeping me under surveillance inside of this apartment where I'm showing you all the iterations of light that's supernatural. That supernatural light is present for what is surveillance that is also underway in the area in the same apartment, which is the bathroom, where the entity is keeping a fake sun over this building, which is over this apartment inside of that building, which contains the bathroom, where the entity is engaging in what is surveillance, which is an illegitimate government interest. And where you see the police department gang stalking in the specific environment, that police department are also a bunch of paid sex offenders who are monitoring my genitalia in a bathroom. And that is entirely illegitimate for a police department to engage in and also to facilitate, meaning encourage, contribute to the public corruption of sex offenders monitoring stalking together, sexually violating and invading the privacy together. And then those same ones are bearing badges and engaging in what are supposed to be the executive branch of the government, as though they're doing anything other than playing cops and robbers with those that are prosecuted under the laws as they exist regarding sexual violence, and those that are predators in the traditional way that is understood. This is sexual violence, and that sexually motivated, that predatory purpose behind monitoring in a bathroom is put in the center regarding gang stalking by the state and the people of the state. So this is what's underway at 6:52 a.m. The entity at 6:52, remember where I'm at as well. I could be at a public park in the bathroom and the entity is engaging in the same elements of monitoring. But I like to always remind you about the setting. I'm at a senior citizen complex. So this is not only amplified audible activity, but it's where a bunch of old people they're going to want to be in court. They're not going to be able to, but they're going to want to be in court and appear normal, appear separate and apart from all of the allegations, which is impossible. They're going to want to not be looked at as old, liver spot covered, crusty skin, limping, edema suffering sex offenders, but that's what they are. And they're engaging in stalking somebody, monitoring somebody, prying on somebody, torturing somebody in a bathroom while my panties are down. And doing so at 6:52 in the morning, where these old people in engineered light are not sleeping. And that is also captured in what is screenshots to remind you about what I documented at 7 o'clock in the evening, where the fake sun is already set and engineered light is luminescing inside of the dark living room where Tracy Banks is monitoring, engaging witchcraft, waking me up, and then physically entering the apartment in order to molest with what is light that's manifesting out of nowhere. The sun that is set after sitting over the apartment building for 11 hours is not causing light to shoot horizontally, which would be in the direction north, through her apartment door to touch on my body as she opens that door. That's engineered light, the same engineered light that you see framing the front door, moving across her ceilings, coating the patio glass door, swiping, cascading across the kitchen cabinets, moving across the floor and whatnot, creating my magnified size of the shadow of my hand, my head, my shadow. But that engineered light, that's what's present on the east living room wall in the evening and also in the dark in the morning before the fake sun rises. Where all the demons who are violent sex offenders engaging in what is stalking somebody in a bathroom. And that's exactly how their criminal conduct is going to be characterized, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're stalking someone, and you're stalking someone in the most demented manner. Why are you stalking a woman in a bathroom? Because that's what you're doing when you're gang stalking. Why are police departments stalking a woman in a bathroom? Because that's what you're doing when you're gang stalking. Why is the Ontario International Airport stalking a woman in a bathroom? And engaging in what is the psychopathic pattern of monitoring her in a bathroom. That is the, first of all, demonstration of mental illness, but it's also demonstrating that that airport is not needed, that police department is not needed. In fact, that population needs to be appropriately labeled as the threat that it is to the public at large. And the entity is monitoring him in the bathroom at 6:52 in the morning today at a senior citizen complex where LYNDA REYES is being documented at 6:52 in the morning for monitoring me, monitoring my genitalia, which is an egregiously violent sex offense. It's domestic terrorism, to be specific, pursuant to the sexually violent pattern of conduct of keeping an American citizen under surveillance in order to murder and kidnap them. In doing so, with impunity. And that impunity is also documented as I continuously capture the specific environment. Meaning if the demons were smart enough to never ever engage in amplified audible activity again, the maintenance of the engineered light is not going to deceive those that are observing how you're going to prosecute the terrorists that are in this country monitoring American citizens, both of the civilian population and also while they are currently hiding in positions of government, because those are demons that are hiding behind labels, hiding behind titles, hiding behind acronyms, where they are engaging in what is the satanic targeting system, monitoring American citizens, stalking them, trying to terrorize them, trying to inflict suffering and psychological torture. The entity is doing so this morning. Again, it's May 20th, 2025. Tracy Banks is in the apartment sharing in that sex offense. The entity is doing so while I am at Woodside Senior Apartments. AVANATH Capital Management and Daryl J. Carter's continuously are being documented and is being captured on record, because I'm going to be made whole with regard to draining the pockets of a corrupt third party such as AVANATH. You're not going to profit from sexual violence. You're not going to profit from terrorism. You're not going to profit from systematically facilitating what is a program of psychological torture amongst your demon-possessed residents, your demon-possessed employees, and your demon-possessed co-defendants who are coming onto your property grounds, which is a facilitating venue, meaning you're legally responsible for what's happening on your property while it's threatening the life, the safety, the well-being, and the liberty of an American citizen who has the wherewithal to document it and prove also that you are reasonably accountable and not possibly ignorant about it. Not that even if you claim ignorance that you're going to avoid liability, but it's unreasonable to suggest that within the pattern of conduct that the state is documented as that AVANATH Capital Management is ignorant about that pattern, especially while it's gang stalking employees or engaging in it. It's an inevitable prosecution. It's currently 7:15 a.m. It's May 20, 2025, and that engineered light will be uploaded to the Google Drive 6 o'clock. The 6 a.m. hour. This is where it remains during the day. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow, that's over 12 hours. We're going on 13 hours later. That engineered light is still framing that same front door, which is what I captured yesterday, May 19th, after 7 p.m. This is relevant to bathroom monitoring. That supernatural light and that maintenance of amplified noise that's happening in a bathroom is how you're monitoring. The demons can do it with what they deem then realistic noise, such as, oh, it sounds like water that's coming through, the sound of water running through the ceiling and the walls because the neighbors are taking a bath. It's amplified audible activity. The entity is not engaging in one supernatural aspect of the pattern of conduct in order to engage in what is lacking the other two elements. That's not how the pattern of conduct is there, and that's not why the fake sun is sitting over the building all day long. That's not why the government is engaged in gang stalking directly, which the evidence is already sitting there. It's an inevitable prosecution. The more psychopathic, the more amplified, in other words, the more incessant, the more intense that prosecution. So that you're a sex offender that never wants to get out of that mental asylum or never wants to get out of prison, in other words. That's how that's going to work. It is currently 7:17 a.m. and I remain subject to, as I'm documenting, spiritual attacks by the entity that's gang stalking, and also the entity, I remain subject to the pattern of conduct of gang stalking in relevant position, which is what Woodside is maintaining. And this is relevant to the prosecution of the U.S. government, which is relevant to, again, those to be removed from positions that they hold, the absence of a legitimate investigation where you're engaging in what is using sex magic and spiritually attacking. You're not investigating the demons who are still gang stalking and sexually violating. You're a part of that sexual violence, by the way. They share that obsession with me in that sexual manner while I'm being monitored in the bathroom in relevant position, and I'm being spiritually attacked by a sex offender, a demon with the rapist spirit that's engaging in what is using some sort of witchcraft voodoo that doesn't work on me, and it's actually disgusting, and that's why I'm going to expose those demons by name, and it includes Jason Isaac Fields. So it is currently 7:18 a.m. This is documentation of bathroom monitoring. This is P.O.C. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state. And it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Alrighty, this is a light activity where the city of Ontario is stalking a woman and a woman's genitalia, monitoring, which is a sex offense. In other words, breaking this light activity down and the ongoing audible activity that's sounding specifically in the bathroom. The sex offender that's in relevant position is license 5WB715 amongst the demons, including LYNDA Reyes, engaging in what is, as far as a woman stalking another woman and being concerned with her vagina. That homosexual, sexually violent pattern of conduct is also attributed to LYNDA Reyes, the gang stalker under the fake sun at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:49 in the morning. This is the absence of the sun. This is in the shade. The bathroom is in here where the demons are stalking with noise. This is demonic and it's also sexually violent. And when the moment that they know that my vagina is exposed is where amplified noise is happening in the bathroom along the ceiling. And this is the apartment where bathroom monitoring amongst a population. A whole bunch of sex offenders that are currently hiding in position. You've seen them pacing in the parking lot, sounding car alarms, pacing in amplified plane activity, helicopter activity, the fire department, the police department, the entity that is stalking in the sky space, which is maintaining surveillance all around my vagina. All right. Those are the sex offenders that are going to federal prison in units 33 through 64, where in the shade, there is no explanation for what is impossible light activity. That's me holding up my cell phone. That's a supernatural occurrence. That's relevant to monitoring. When you're monitoring what is the genitalia, you're not just a stalker, you're a sex offender who's interested in the genitalia of the person who you're stalking. And you're also a psychopath engaging in the demented behavior of stalking someone with noise, especially when you know that they're naked. Okay, license 9HUZ740 Tracy Banks. It's her pattern of conduct. This is her stalking with light. This is her stalking with noise, and being physically absent from being in front of my camera is not a removal from that pattern of conduct. And as you also know, the demons are stalking under a fake sun that's remaining over this apartment building. The sex offender stalking in planes, Alan D. WAPNER is interested in monitoring a woman's vagina. That's why the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking me inside of this apartment, spending millions of dollars and using the airlines associated with the Ontario International Airport. And it's the same thing that you know very well with Mike Lorenz, a sex offender, a demon, monitoring my vagina. That's why they're engaged in what is gang stalking under the 10:54 a.m. fake sun, the 8:49 a.m. fake sun, the 5:40 p.m. fake sun, none of which is an explanation for this light that's manifesting from the shade into the depths of a dark living room, onto the wall, upright, apart from me. This is called light activity, where the sex offense of bathroom monitoring is underway. LYNDA Reyes, Daryl J. Carter's documented sexual violence via AVANATH Capital Management's employees, those that are remaining in relevant position and who are monitoring my vagina as it's exposed, as I'm taking my clothes off, as I'm in the private space, as I'm engaged in what is private activity, which a government has no legitimate interest in keeping under surveillance. Why is a police department interested in me putting my panties down? that answer is something that can be addressed, but the bigger issue is that that police department is going to be disbanded. That is the Ontario Police Department. Alan D. Wapner's Ontario International Airport, an airport that's not actually needed when they're spending millions of dollars on keeping my vagina under surveillance in a bathroom at an apartment complex under a fake sun amongst engineered light, where elderly age sex offenders are residing and stalking as a way of life. They're all going to prison inside of this building. There are specifically units 49 through 64 and the adjacent building where they're sharing the sidewalk where all they're doing is pacing. And they're monitoring right now while in engineered light, my shadow is appearing on the living room wall. That's a supernatural occurrence. And it's also with regard to what is shared ongoing activity creation at the moments that the sex offenders are, oh, she's pulling her panties down. Let's surround with audible activity. Those are what the sex offenders do when they're monitoring. And monitoring is pursuant to stalking. Stalking, which is occurring with the people of the state and a government, is being documented while I'm in the bathroom, subject to the psychological torture of a sexual nature, and also what is monitoring, which is the perpetual sex offense. It is the removal of the police department engaging in that. That same police department engaged in a pattern of kidnapping as well. You're not going to be a sex offending kidnapper and remain as an actual police department. It is the demise of the career in law enforcement of Mike Lorenz and everyone else associated with the Ontario Police Department. It is currently 5:43 p.m. where you're seeing that impossible light activity inside of this apartment where the entity is keeping a fake sun over this building for 11 hours. And that's the significance of impossible light activity inside of this apartment. Everything that I'm doing is being monitored, and what is relevant is that even at the moment that I'm taking my panties down in a bathroom, it's public information. That perpetual sex offense is why the people of the state are going to prison, and it includes those that are working for AVANATH, LYNDA, REYES, and every other employee. Already documented gang stalking, by the way, on video via podcast. The entity is engaging in public corruption with the city of Ontario and doing so with impunity, and also violent sex offenders who have an appetite for their images to be shown and to be identified specifically by age and location and address as a sex offender. And I'll provide those screenshots too. It'll be uploaded to the Google Drive. This is Woodside Senior Apartments engaging in the sex offense as a community. This is public corruption speaking to sex offenders that are going to be appropriately labeled. And this is the prosecution of the state for federal group stalking and monitoring. Gang stalking in bathrooms is what the government is doing throughout this country. Monitoring you, keeping you under surveillance. You, your children, your spouses, unbeknownst to you. And I'm being gang stalked, and I'm exposing what the surveillance that you're subject to. And I'm going to prosecute for the demons keeping my vagina under surveillance. This is P.O.C. It is 5:44 p.m. where that light activity is coexisting with noise that surrounds me as I move inside of the apartment, where you're looking at what is light that sits on the same living room wall where it was at 6:20 in the morning. That's where the entity is monitoring my vagina. That's the sex offense that the government's going to be prosecuted for. This is P.O.C. All right, the entity that, the video that you just listened to is that's video documentation captured, and it is in reference to the entity that is indeed gang stalking, as I'm documenting the entity that is demon possessed and engaging what is monitoring at nightfall as well in the specific environment, like the video is capturing, which remains at nightfall, but also the totality of that obsessed stalker that is the entity that's also both a demonic entity and it's also the public entity that's engaging in things such as practicing witchcraft and spiritually attacking. And this is the prosecution of the government that's not engaged in any legitimate investigation. So again, sex offenders like Jason Isaac Fields, they're monitoring my vagina while the demons in a relevant position are stalking with noise that's sounding centered on where I'm at. And it's also at the moment that I'm doing whatever I'm doing. So at the moment that I'm pulling my panties down, that's where amplified noise, knocking is occurring in the bathroom. And so I'm just mindful, and that's the significance of the video that I'm capturing, because you already know, thanks to the gang stalking of Tracy Banks and Woodside under the 5:40 p.m. fake sun, and it's 5:46 p.m. So I'm capturing that, and you're aware of the environment where all they're doing is gang stalking. So I will reference that video for you, because while the Ontario Police Department is gang stalking on May 16, 2025, at 5:40 p.m., the fake sun is sitting over the same building. That's where they are also gang stalking with that same police department, with Tracy Banks, the same defendant, who is engaging in what is the elements of monitoring as merely one face. That's what they're all doing at an apartment complex, as a community, as a city, as a municipality, and within that municipality using all resources of that government, the planes and the helicopters, aerial surveillance, all centered around my genitalia in a bathroom. As I strip naked, the demons engage in what is stalking with activity, which is going outside of what is necessary to merely monitor. That's the appetite of a sex offender that also is interested in sexually violent means of psychological torture, because they don't have to stalk with amplified noise in the bathroom. I'm already creating activity. So that's the appetite of the sex offender. And you're not forgetful, because that's speaking to Paul Leon, who's a sex offender, Alan D. Wapner, who's a sex offender, Mike Lorenz, who's a sex offender, Michael Gherkin, who's a sex offender, Shannon Dykes, who's a sex offender. These demons that are engaging in the pattern of conduct on one aspect, but you're not forgetful of the entirety of that pattern of conduct that's underway in the bathroom at this apartment, where the fake son that they're stalking me under, when they're using fire trucks and police vehicles and ambulances and planes and helicopters. That pattern of conduct is underway amongst the same unemployed elderly population who is doing things as despicable and disgusting and demented as stalking with noise in a bathroom and impossible light activity, which is how you monitor. And you're specifically interested in monitoring when you know that my vagina is exposed. That's the sex offender. That's the prosecution of the mens rea, the sexual violence behind that engagement, that iteration of that pattern of conduct. That mens rea is sexually perverted, it's demented, and getting to that spiritual condition, that's that Jezebel spirit that's engaging what is witchcraft at 3 o'clock in the morning, disrupting my sleep, engaging what is sex magic, using some sort of voodoo, engaging in masturbation while calling on demonic spirits and trying to spiritually attack me with it, and it doesn't work. I'm calling that out. These are what the demon possessed are engaging in while they're interested in monitoring my vagina in relevant position. These are perverts. These are stalkers. These are demons. And this is the prosecution of the U.S. government. You're not investigating. You're engaging in the sex offense with the population that's gang stalking in relevant position. You're not investigating that demon-possessed entity that's gang stalking in relevant position. You are engaging in monitoring. And I'm going to prosecute the government for monitoring me and being a sex offender, and while you're understanding monitoring and the purposes of monitoring and deriving sexual gratification from monitoring me, those are sex offenders, not investigators. Okay, this is why Jason Isaac Fields is being prosecuted and being removed from position in law enforcement, and also being prosecuted for any and everything that this demon, this sex offender, stole while monitoring me, and then sitting around engaging in voyeurism as I am prosecuting and documenting the demons who are engaging in monitoring my genitalia, which he is a part of. So no gang stalker is any investigator. No gang stalker is any hero. No gang stalker is a part of the pattern of conduct that I created with regard to understanding what the demon possessed are doing. He is the demon possessed. The government is the demon possessed entity. They have no parts in the P.O.C. and the documentation, which is evidence and intellectual property that belongs to me, as you're understanding the totality of the crime that the demon-possessed engaged in against me, and are still doing so while I'm inside of Tracy Banks' apartment, an engineer light speaking to my shadow being away from me, upright on the living room wall, and you're looking at the same exact impossible light activity framing the east living room wall inside of, you're looking at it when you're listening to me narrate it on the podcast, but you will see it in the video. This is exactly what I documented at 6:26 in the morning, impossible light activity, and it's also manifesting in the shade. It has nothing to do with the documentation about the fake sun. The fake sun documentation is showing you the crime scene where nothing but stalking amongst demons who are monitoring is underway, and those demons are going to be prosecuted as the sex offenders and diagnosed as the mentally ill population that it is. They're doing so while they are monitoring this evidence as well. So amplified audible activity sounding while I'm now on the couch in the living room, while I'm documenting. It's 5:50 p.m. And also, this is what's happening when I'm in the bathroom, and the moment that I take my panties off, I pull my underwear down, amplified noise is sounding. That's the behavior of sex offenders, by the way. Sex offenders who are going to be removed from law enforcement, from the practice of medicine, from the practice of law. They're going to be removed from areas where they pose a danger to the public, in positions of public officials, positions in having licenses to fly planes and have access to helicopters and have access to weapons, etc., access to the public, the demons that are driving buses, the demons that have access to children, etc. This is how the prosecution and the P.O.C., the evidence of the P.O.C. is going to serve the good with regard to getting the word out about what this system of terrorism is serving, and how it's enabled, and how it is serving for the ticking time bombs that are demons who are monitoring, and they're also engaged in gang stalking, targeting American citizens in order to kidnap and murder them, and seeking to create the illusion of mental illness. And that doesn't work in the face of the P.O.C. The evidence of it, which is also going to serve in order to, contrary to what they plan, their mental illness is being put at the forefront of each and every one of their individual prosecutions. and it's also informing the public. So it is currently 5:51 p.m. This is documentation of bathroom monitoring, and pay attention to the Google Drive because you will see the images of the elderly population and the employees of AVANATH Capital Management, as you will see their images adjacent to things such as the toilet, and you are mindful of my genitalia that they are hovering over, salivating over, stalking me regarding and monitoring, like demons who are mentally ill, and also like stalkers who are criminals in need of an appropriate label of people who are so demented and degenerate that they're stalking in places like bathrooms. It is currently 5:52 p.m. This is P.O.C. regarding bathroom monitoring at Woodside Senior Apartments. It is 9:22 p.m. on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. The same apartment where you are able to see light manifesting that is just appearing out of nowhere, meaning no source of light, being an explanation for that which is aimed on my person and creating my shadow that is not on the ground but upright on the living room wall, the east living room wall inside of the apartment, not outside on the ground. That light activity that is shown in the video captured in the building where the fake sun sits over it all day long, inside of this apartment, Unit 51, the same apartment where I'm documenting the ongoing iterations of impossible light activity, the direct evidence of criminal surveillance by the government that is continuously demonstrating that it is engaged in what is a satanic means of surveilling myself with the purpose of kidnapping and criminal defamation, and that is going to result in what is a federal prison of police officers, disbanding of the law enforcement in the city of Ontario, and removal of office of the gang stalking government in Ontario, and federal prison and mental asylums for the demons who are gang stalking at the apartment complex, amongst others that I've documented where federal prison is mandated as well. For example, gang stalking, as I've documented in Ontario with the police. Inside of the same apartment at what is 9:24 p.m., which I turned the lights off in the living room at approximately 9:19 p.m., so 5 minutes ago. The entity is keeping an ongoing means of impossible light activity, and it is occurring. And what I documented last night was like a flashing light, a very small flashlight, like would be reminiscent of a smoke alarm. But again, the smoke alarm is not flashing any light. And it's also a red light that would be flashing. This is a blue flash that I documented last night, which is the same color as all the impossible light that's inside of Tracy Banks's apartment when you turn the lights off. It's along the west living room wall, the east living room wall, adjacent to the couch, above the couch. It's in the kitchen, along the kitchen wall, and it's magnified in size. It's magnifies engineered light that is the product of light that's aimed inside of the apartment during the day as well. It's just a different color, and it's all over inside of this apartment at night. So I documented last night what was a blue tinted flashing of light, and what's occurring tonight as of the moment that I turned the light off, meaning it's ongoing while the lights are on. So this is what fills the apartment when I'm documenting Tracy Banks and she's engaged in monitoring, engaging in what is threats of criminal summoning, when the police are gang stalking by helicopter, when the entity is gang stalking by planes, when the demon in Unit 55 is the guise of the demonic means of amplified audible activity, such that a neighbor can walk in their apartment and cause the ceiling and the walls to crack. This is the same impossible light activity that fills the apartment. It is monitoring, just like I'm showing all the ways in which impossible light activity remains during the day. The entity is maintaining impossible light, but the flash of light is not what's going. It's more like a streak of light, a flashing of like thunder, like a streak of thunder. That's more like a line of light that's appearing. It's equally impossible. I'm just documenting the fact that it is ongoing. First of all, that's documentation for the entity that's going to be prosecuted, and the entity is also going to be prosecuted for terrorizing and harassing the targeted individual as they are keeping the evidence about their stalking under surveillance. So I just want to document not only is that light activity ongoing, but it's more prominent than the mere flash of what was like what would be reminiscent of what was be created by a smoke alarm. Even though it's impossible, it's not the smoke alarm. It's more like a line of light that's repeatedly flashing. And this is as of I turn the lights off at approximately 19 p.m. It's 9:26 p.m. And again, pursuant to the satanic pattern of conduct, the more that I document the pattern of conduct, the more that the demons engage in it, such as stalking with amplified noise by the demon in Unit 55. And the moment that I begin document that demon engages in more of that behavior. This is what's happening with the impossible light activity. And it is that which is occurring with more frequency. It is now more pronounced 24 hours after I documented it last night. It is light activity, again, that's remaining on a ongoing basis. So even while the lights are on in the apartment, while I have the lights on, the television, and you're in the apartment, and Tracy Banks is monitoring, and the people of the state are monitoring, this is the light activity that's present where you can't see it while the lights are on and you're active in the apartment. It's the same during the day as well. It's just a different color of engineered light. And the example, the proof of what it is that I'm documenting is, for example, in the video that I captured today, May 20, 2025, where my shadow is appearing magnified in size, and it's appearing on the east living room wall, and you can see my shadow where I'm holding up the cell phone, and this is where the demon possessed are monitoring my genitalia with pursuit of the intent to stalk with audible activity with simultaneity to my pulling my panties down. That is a sexually perverted means of monitoring, where blue flashing engineered light, more prominent than it was last night, pursuant to the surveillance that the demon possessed are engaging in while their stalking system has been exposed and is being documented. And that is evidence of ongoing stalking and impunity upon stalking by a government that's not engaged in, by the way, an investigation about itself. It's engaged in what is monitoring, which is under all circumstances the evidence that's also going to result in the prosecution of the U.S. government, not just the city of Ontario and the Ontario Police Department. It is currently 9:28 p.m. inside of the apartment, where blue colored engineered light is appearing tonight, more prominent than what I documented last night. And that is also pursuant to the pattern of conduct. The more that you document psychopaths engage in more aggressive and more violent and more targeting behaviors. And that's a national security threat. While I am revealing to you the specific environment that surrounds all of us in this country, because the specific environment that I'm documenting remains over me. You are necessarily in the specific environment wherever you are at in this country, because the sun is not one that's going to sit idle over me at one building. And so you are under a light source, not the natural environment, and that's demonic. And you are surrounded by those that are of the same condition, that are gang stalking me, and they are psychopaths, closeted psychopaths, who pose a national security threat, while their behavioral patterns, their personality defects, their appetite for causing harm and suffering to others, those who are engaging in what is an obsessive agenda with monitoring other people, that are doing so with the government, that engages in targeting American citizens as a city, as a statewide effort. Those are the psychopaths that are engaging in what is the pattern of conduct. And so it is alerting those who are in this country regarding the condition of the demon possessed, regarding the behaviors of the demon possessed, regarding the sexual perversion of the demon possessed, that are engaged in what are keeping American citizens under surveillance, which is a government program. All right, it is currently, again, 9:30 p.m., and that impossible light activity is remaining inside of this apartment, and it's the prosecution of AVANATH. Daryl J. Carter's problems are being documented with regard to the civil damages, and also the prosecution of the employees of AVANATH at Woodside who are going to prison. It includes LYNDA Reyes. All right, this is P.O.C.